What's up, guys? It's Sean here with the Sean Deli Book Channel. Still need to think of a better name, honestly. Oh, well. And today I have for you, first of all, I do apologize for the lack of content lately. I am going to be better. That is my promise to you. I am going to guarantee three videos a week minimum from here on. And let's go through right away. We're going to finish the Broken Earth series, finally, and kind of give the review on that. And book 3, first thing, I'm going to caveat this. I am not a fan of science fiction just because I just don't like science fiction, okay? It's not my favorite. While saying that, I'm reading Dune right now, and it's phenomenal. Love Dune. But anyway, this story is slightly different in the way that is told to the other ones. Obviously, this is the crescendo of the storyline. Everything's been building. All the moon stuff is happening. Everything's kind of going on full tilt. The whole capturing of the city was happening, and Essun going all crazy with the Onyx and saving everybody. Fun stuff. But anyway, now we're pretty much at the time. All right, it's go time. The moon is coming. We need to either blow it up or we're going to put it back and restore the Earth. And we kind of see the reasoning behind it. We kind of get an idea of why Steele wants to blow up the moon and end the world and just be done with it all. It makes sense. He wants to die. Like, he's been around for thousands and thousands of years. And he's just like, I'm tired of this. I'm done with this life. I want to die is pretty much what his justification is, which is fair enough. Like, that's a worthy cause, actually. And the split arguments that you're constantly seeing in this story, you have the backstory of Hoa, actually, and what happened exactly 40,000 years ago before the stillness was created. What happened to the Earth? What was the cause? And we get a pretty interesting backstory. Sorry, nose itch. We get a pretty interesting backstory of what happened to the world and the Nies people who had the ability to control magic, had orogeny, and they were, even back in the day when Anagist was able to conquer the Nies, they were still mistreated with just kind of... Obviously, the story is about racism and the perpetuities of racism and how it keeps going on generation after generation and where it originates from and where it comes from. But we see the Nies people and we find out what exactly Hoa is. While not exactly knowing what Hoa is, they're like artificial humans, but they're not really. They're more machines because they're tuners. But it's a weird thing, honestly. Not very clearly defined. But we do find out Hoa's love interest originally, which was Kalenli, which is like both a human and a tuner. It's kind of like in between. And we find out, oh, this is what happened. This was the whole thing. A lot of people weren't explained in the original thing. It was never really truly explained. They created these creatures that they didn't even know how to control. The tuners, they were not able to actually control the tuners. And to build the Platonic engine to be able to like live peacefully forever, whatever they wanted, the goal. But it was very interesting. The backstory, that was the part that I was most curious about, because I was like, I need to know what happened. It wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. It just kind of was, oh yeah, this creation fighting against the creator, which is pretty classic trope, and it's good, but I wasn't the biggest fan. I was like hoping for something more like, wow. It kind of was a little meh for me personally, but the series as a whole, it's a little slow to get going at the beginning because they're describing all of Hoa's backstory and stuff like that. And there's some like randomly included characters that come back from like the fulcrum and stuff like that. And it's just like, cool, I guess you're here. Whatever. Like the boy who teased Essun back when she was a kid is still there, and it's like, alright, whatever. But this story really, really depicts the darkest aspects of humanity very, very well. Specifically, the scene that's like the most heartbreaking is the node maintainers, and it's just messed up, honestly. And it does really, really paint a grim picture of what humanity truly represents and what those in power represent, and the way that's told, and the way that history is told, and the way that we eliminate the bad parts about ourselves to make ourselves appear better. It is a shame. It is definitely a shame, but it's just human nature almost to have these things. And the story does depict that quite well, I think. But at the end, it also shows the purest parts of humanity. The love a daughter has for a father figure. The love that a mother has for her child. Like, those are universal, and they're almost, everybody understands them. Everybody can understand the feeling of being loved and loving someone else. So, and the story pretty much culminates to that. In the end, Nasun is planning on destroying the moon. It all comes down to the fact that she's trying to save Shafa. That's why she wants to do it. She wants to put Shafa out of his misery. And in the end, she doesn't do it because her mom sacrifices herself for her. And in sacrifice, her mom becomes a stone eater. Kind of saw that happening, obviously, with Alabaster. I was hoping Alabaster becoming a stone eater would be more impactful in the story and there would be more pieces to it, but there wasn't. And then the whole thing about, like, Hoa being in love with Essun because she's like the descendant of Cleanly. I'm like, was this necessary? Like, okay. And if that was the case, why did Hoa all of a sudden come find her after the shattering? Why not come find her way earlier? He knew where she was. So those were a little weird to me, but all in all, I was happy that I read the story. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10, in my opinion. If you're more of a science fiction fan and a science fiction nerd, you might enjoy this a little bit more than I did. I did like how modern it felt. However, I'm reading Dune right now, and that it feels like it was written this year, honestly. It feels so rich in as far as how ahead of time it was. But we will get to that series as well. But more than anything else, guys, that's kind of my theory. Let me kind of give a little bit more. I'm trying to get a little bit better at doing these reviews. As a whole, I would give it a 7 out of 10. In world building, you get to see different parts of the world, definitely. I can't give it a ridiculous level because the main pieces of the story locations that you're really told about are the Fulcrum, the town where Essun lives, which is like a village, the Winter Fulcrum, or the moon landing spot where Shafa is, and the dome. So the world building is kind of limited. Obviously, like, I wish like there was more explanation of what Core Point was and like all these. That could have been really cool. I was expecting more from Core Point, but I just didn't get as much as I wanted in the world building. I'm also not a huge stickler on world building. World building isn't like the thing I'm in love with. I love backstory. I love lore. I want to know what happened before this happened and before that happened. I want all those details. And this story's lore is meh at best. I was really hoping, like, when in book 1 and book 2, there was like, oh, well, yeah, they threw away the other tablets. Like, there is no other tablets. I was really hoping, like, there would be, like, this ridiculous moment where she finds the 3rd and 4th tablet, and it's, like, all the things about where orogeny comes from and what the origins are. I would have liked that a little bit more. I kind of like that stuff more, but the lore was pretty mediocre, honestly. The plot was good. I actually enjoyed the plot a lot, and the characters were actually very, very good as well. I enjoyed the characters and the movement of the characters very much. The decisions felt like congruent with the nature of each character. The problem with science fiction sometimes is because you have characters that are somewhat robotic, like Essun, hypothetically, you get these unhuman type of emotions creep in. It's a little confusing, but all in all, 7 out of 10 I think is a pretty good rating. When I read a bit more and kind of be able to actually differentiate the books a little bit better moving forward, as I get a little bit more experience with doing these reviews, we'll be able to do a bit more of an analysis down the line. Obviously, this is the first series that I've done, and I have so many other series to talk about. I'm actually so excited to get into a lot of the other ones. I've been doing a lot of Harry Potter stuff this week, so I'm excited to get into those books. And there's books for days all over this place. But I will be back soon with the Mistborn book 2 and 3. Very excited for those. And I believe we will do Harry Potter right after those. So stay tuned. But more than anything else, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to me. This is Sean, and this is Sean and Valley Book Channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow.